Don't open the door." The wind howled against the cabin walls, rattling the windows like a dying breath. Sarah pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders and stared at the flickering candle in front of her. The power had gone out hours ago, and she was alone in the remote mountain cabin, a retreat she had booked to escape the chaos of the city. She hadn't expected a storm, and she certainly hadn't expected the knocking. It started softly at first, almost hesitant, like the knuckles barely met the wood. At first she thought it was the wind playing tricks on her, but then it came again, louder, more urgent. A steady, deliberate knock. 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 Her breath hitched. Who would be out here in this storm? She reached for her phone. No signal. The storm had severed any connection to the outside world. The knocking came again, harder this time, shaking the wooden door in its frame. "Hello?" she called, hesitantly approaching the entrance. No answer. She swallowed hard. Her heart pounded as she reached for the peephole, but something inside her screamed not to look. Instead, she stood there, listening. Silence. She exhaled shakily and backed away. Maybe it was just a lost hiker seeking shelter. Maybe. Knock, 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 knock. It was more forceful this time. Too forceful. Then came the whisper. "Sarah, open the door." Her body went cold. Her name. How did they know her name? She took a step back, her mind racing. No one knew she was here. She had told no one about this trip, needing solitude to clear her mind after a bad breakup. So how? A scraping sound against the wood made her jump. It was slow, deliberate, like nails dragging down the surface of the door. "Sarah, let me in." Her stomach twisted into knots. The voice was wrong. It had a distorted, hollow echo, like multiple voices speaking at once. It wasn't human. She ran to the kitchen, grabbing the largest knife she could find. The candle flickered violently, casting shadows that seemed to stretch unnaturally along the walls. The knocking stopped. The whispering stopped. Silence stretched on. Too long. Too empty. Then, a click. Her eyes darted to the door handle. It was turning. Panic surged through her. She raced to the door and slammed her body against it just as it began to open. Her fingers fumbled for the lock, twisting it shut. She could hear the thing on the other side breathing. A slow, ragged inhale. A long, shuddering exhale. Then it laughed. Low, guttural, inhuman. Sarah whimpered. "Please go away." The voice hummed. "But you already let me in." Her blood ran cold. No, I didn't." A creak sounded behind her, inside the cabin. Sarah turned slowly, her heart hammering in her chest. The candle flickered, revealing something in the shadows. A figure stood just beyond the light's reach, tall and wrong, its limbs too long, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. It grinned. Sarah screamed. Just then, a blinding flash of light illuminated the cabin. The storm outside intensified, and suddenly, a loud clap of thunder shook the walls. The creature shrieked, its grin vanishing into a contorted expression of pain. The candlelight burned brighter, as if some unseen force was pushing back the darkness. A voice echoed through the cabin, not the monster's voice, but something warm, familiar. "Sarah, hold on." Sarah gasped. The voice belonged to her grandmother, who had passed away years ago. She felt a sudden surge of warmth and strength. The candle flame shot up, turning a brilliant gold. The creature screamed again, recoiling. Summoning every ounce of courage, Sarah grabbed the old locket around her neck, her grandmother's locket. She clutched it tight, whispering a desperate plea for protection. A surge of energy exploded from the locket, filling the cabin with golden light. The creature howled, its form twisting and writhing before it disintegrated into a cloud of black mist, which vanished into the walls. The storm outside settled. The candlelight returned to its natural glow. The oppressive darkness was gone. Sarah collapsed to her knees, breathing hard. The door remained shut, locked tight. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "Thank you, Grandma." The next morning the storm had cleared. The sun peeked through the trees, bathing the cabin in warm light. Sarah packed her things, determined never to return. As she stepped outside, she took one last glance at the door and whispered to herself, "I will never open that door." Then she left, safe, whole, and stronger than before.